From Church Militant Studios, this is the Church Militant Evening News.
Hello and thank you for joining us this Tuesday, March 21st. I'm James Fedewa, along with Hunter Bradford here with Catholic News and Context. Tonight, a prelate gives a shocking explanation for suppressing the old form of the Mass. Another diocese is racing to avoid paying sex abuse claims, and a faithful Nicaraguan prelate is missing, and the world wants to know why.
Leading us off tonight, a prominent Vatican cardinal is revealing why the Church is suppressing the traditional Latin Mass. On Sunday, Cardinal Arthur Roche, prefect of the Dicastery for Divine Worship, revealed in a BBC interview why the Vatican is cracking down on the extraordinary form. In particular, Cardinal Roche focused on the tradition of the priest facing ad orientem, or east, while celebrating the Holy Mass.
You know, the theology of the Church has changed. Whereas before the priest represented, at a distance, all the people. They were channeled, as it were, through this person who alone was celebrating the Mass. It is not only the priest who celebrates the liturgy, but also those who are baptized with him.
This, while many contemporary Catholics complain they feel left out or ignored if the priest is not facing them.
A Catholic diocese in California is contemplating bankruptcy after being the focus of more than 300 sex abuse claims. The Diocese of Oakland is, quote, giving strong consideration to filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, according to a letter Bishop Michael Barber issued Thursday. The flood of childhood sex abuse cases surfaced after a 2019 California law temporarily lifted these statutes of limitations for filing a lawsuit. Oakland would mark the 30th diocese in the U.S. to file for bankruptcy.
Last week, the Diocese of Albany, New York became the 5th diocese in the state to declare bankruptcy. While most news outlets focused on the superficial case numbers and dollar amounts, we here are going beneath the surface. Joining us now is Church Militant's Nick Wiley to do a deeper dive. Nick, good to see you.
Thanks, Hunter. As you said, Albany became diocese number 5 of 8 in New York to file bankruptcy. Out of the 29 total dioceses in the U.S. to do it, New York has 5. And 2 others, Ogdenburg and Brooklyn, have been rumored for years to be contemplating filing as well. The drum that we need to keep beating here is when it comes to that, the Chapter 11 filings have nothing to do with the amount of assets each diocese has. It's about the ability to foot the payouts to the victims. Bankruptcy is filed in order for the truth to never come out. Multiple truths, actually. One being financial. The diocese, they shift their assets into different holdings in order to claim they have less than they really do. So much less money for payouts, actually. But also, dioceses lock away all their records whenever they file for bankruptcy. So no one's able to find out just how corrupt they've been.
So these dioceses declaring bankruptcy, it's not because they don't have money, but partly because they have money and want to protect it from sex abuse victims. Is that right?
Yeah, that's true. That's totally true. And it's also because the fact that if there was people that were accused that we don't know have been accused, they'd be able to hide that record, so you'd never be able to find it when in court trials.
Okay.
So let's just focus on New York specifically. New York was in a way the ground zero for sex abuse revelations. In 2018, it was the New York Times who blew up the whole McCarrick scandal on coincidentally the same day that New York's Cardinal Dolan announced McCarrick was being removed from ministry after a credible allegation against him from the Archdiocese of New York dating back to 1971. New York State has suffered many corrupt and even some known homosexual bishops, which have led to all the Chapter 11 filings. Some of those bad bishops were Howard Hubbard, Richard Malone, Matthew Clark, and even Cardinal Dolan today. The big reason Dolan hasn't filed for bankruptcy is because of the properties in New York he's been able to mortgage in order to pay off victims quietly and have them sign non-disclosures so they can't do anything further. Not to mention the fact Dolan has closed many schools in the Archdiocese.
Nick, why do you think Cardinal Dolan seems to have still, despite what you're talking about, a very positive perception from the lay people?
Yeah, Cardinal Dolan's been seen as like the happy cardinal. He gets to go on Fox News. He gets all the great relationships with all these New York medias. And because of those relationships, they refuse to paint him in any bad light normally.
I think that's probably right. A good rule of thumb that I've come to realize: if the mainstream media likes somebody, I probably shouldn't, including Cardinal Dolan. Nick, thank you for coming on today.
Absolutely. Thanks. God bless, Hunter.
God bless.
Yeah, it's a good rule of thumb. Supporters and family members of an imprisoned Nicaraguan bishop are calling for news of his well-being and whereabouts. It's been over 40 days since anyone has seen Bishop Rolando Alvarez, who was incarcerated in the notorious La Modelo prison by the Ortega Murillo regime, with some reports claiming he is being drugged and confined to a cell called the Little Hell. Human rights defenders around the world are making appeals to the Nicaraguan government, pleading for his immediate release.
I am asking Daniel Ortega and Rosario Murillo to provide a proof of life. We want to know that Monsignor Alvarez Lago is alive and in good health.
Alvarez was arrested and sentenced in February to over 26 years in jail on trumped-up charges of treason for criticizing the Marxist regime.
A Catholic apostolate is helping young women displaced by ISIS in Afghanistan. In collaboration with the Jewish Humanitarian Response, the Vulnerable People Project, or VPP, has succeeded in resettling 20 Afghan girls in Spain. The girls, aged 14 to 19, will also receive pro bono medical treatment. A spokesperson said, despite the many tragedies still ongoing in the wake of the U.S. withdrawal, quote, by God's grace, we are pulling off miracles. So far, the VPP has managed to rescue more than 1,000 Afghan refugees, taking them to a safer country.
And before we go to commercial, Regina Caeli Academy has announced some pretty good news. Harrison Butker, Catholic Super Bowl champion and kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs, is now the newest member of the Regina Caeli Academy Board of Directors. Butker's popularity has skyrocketed following his recent Super Bowl victory, where he won the game for his team with a nail-biter field goal.
For the lead.
It's good. In a statement, Butker said, I firmly believe that the calling to educate children within the domestic church can yield beautiful fruit for the future of our faith. Regina Caeli is a nationwide homeschool hybrid program that allows parents to educate their kids at home all the way through high school. But when we come back, a Democratic governor vetoes a bill protecting women's sports. And in Alaska, they stand up against guys in wigs playing against girls. Stay tuned, all that and more up next.